Hey, guess what, everybody? Go listen to the Break It Down show.
This week on the Break It Down show, we have author, actress, model, world traveler, speaker, and harbinger of women being awesome.
Yeah, she carries a message, and that message is grab your passport, grab some tickets, and go somewhere.
Yep. Go do it. Expand yourself.
Yeah,
Expand
go lay
your
on the
horizons.
beach. Go drink some wine. Go do whatever it is that you need to do.
To enhance your own personal thing. So we dig her. She's a lot of fun. It's Teresa Rodriguez, and she's a friend of the show and a friend of ours. We're lucky to have her.
Enjoy. You almost invented the solo travel guide category.
Yeah, there was one woman before me. She started writing a long time ago, but what I really tried to do was really inspire women through travel, where I think that there's a bunch of different types of travel and different types of travel guides with respects to information. You know, I think you look at Frommer's and Rick Steves. They're really about, just core information about a destination, which is great, fantastic.
Right.
But what I really want to do when I write is to inspire people to go to that place. It's almost like it's a love affair. Like these are the traits that a city has that you might fall in love with. And so in my first book, Fly Solo, that's what I did is I created a whole algorithm to figure out what you want to do. So it was based on how much culture do you want to experience? How much do you want to learn while you're at a destination? Do you want to learn about the history of the place that you're at? Or do you want to just learn the bellboy's name? It's there. You don't, just figure out how much learning you want to do. For example, you can go to Thailand and learn a lot about the Buddhist culture, or you can just go to the beach. So it has a lot of opportunity for learning, but you don't necessarily have to do it. And then the next one is activity. Like, how active do you want to be? Do you want to go kayaking or snorkeling or sailing, or do you really just want to go into a bookshop, find a great book and, find a cafe and sit and enjoy, drinking coffee all day long? And then the next is weather. How important is the weather to you? And that's always really important, especially around holiday time. I don't like being cold, so you're not going to catch me up in Tahoe during Christmas or, a place that's cold. I would rather go to someplace that's warm. So for me, weather's a very big determinant of where I'm going to go. And then finally is how social do you want to be? Do you want to go somewhere where you're going to be meeting a lot of people and you're going to be going out to clubs and meeting at restaurants? Or do you want to go someplace where you can just grab that book and sit cozy in front of a fire and read? And ironically, a lot of teachers like to go on retreats by themselves because they're with kids all day long. So, I took those four items and
Graded places accordingly.
Yeah, graded places accordingly. Yeah. So what is basically at the end of the day, what is your intent? And I think a lot of times when we travel, especially with other people, we really don't set our intention for that travel. It's like, oh, a bunch of girlfriends want to get together. Let's go to Vegas. Yay, yay, yay. But when you travel by yourself, you're using two very important commodities. I would say the most important commodities that we have, which is time, because once you spend time, babe, you don't get that back. And the second is money. And we like money. You put those
I like money.
Right? I like money. You put those together and you're really pulling at the heartstrings, right? So when you decide to go somewhere by yourself or go on an adventure alone, you're really pulling at those two heartstrings of your time and your money. And then the third of this trifecta is yourself and your confidence level and your ability to go and do something in that big, scary word, alone.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic when you travel alone. And, I traveled alone quite a bit for work, which gave me a purpose to go to a place. So it was a lot less choosing on my part of where I got to go. But the being there alone, you still do have to sort of seek out those things that make that experience the one that you want to have. So, I think a lot of our listeners will definitely relate to all those things and kind of what categories they fall into. So when you look at a place and let's say, like you said, you can go to Thailand and learn about a whole lot of shit. However,
I had no ideas of things you could do with ping pongs.
Look out.
I need a moment. I just need a moment. Okay. So the things that you go out and seek out by yourself, even if you're traveling by yourself, but, let's say you have workday full of things to do, but then you have your evenings free to go explore. Do you segment these places by category, or do you line them all up and go, here are the 4 categories and here's the matrix for this place?
I set it out based on the category. So culture, activity, weather, social, which I call cause. Mm-hmm. What's the cause, right? What's your cause rating? And then from there, you can figure out what you're going to experience. So, you can go to a place like Thailand, for example, and it is actually one of my favorite places to go because you can do a spectrum of things. You can go shopping and get suits made. You can go through all the amazing temples and museums, or you can just go to the beach and hang out and eat noodles and drink beer, et cetera, et cetera. So there are places that don't have those wide options. You go to specific places and, you're going to get a lot of beach time, but you're not going to get a lot of museum time. But if you don't want to go to a museum, fantastic. I always look at those 4 things first. And of course, there's always the money issue involved. So once I figure out where I should go, I do a lot of research on number 1, is it safe? I went to Fiji in the 80s, and this is before the internet and cell phones. Do you remember that time?
Yeah.
And
I don't remember that.
Yeah, right? And there was a coup going on. And this was in 88. So I arrived in Fiji and the military had taken over. So, you picture this beautiful destination.
When you arrived.
Yeah, well, the military had already taken over. I just, didn't there's not a lot of news about the, this coup going on in the middle of the, South Pacific. And to everybody else in the world, it wasn't a big deal because, it's this.
What year was this?
This was in 1988. It was December of 1988.
Okay.
And so they've gone through a few coups.
They had one in 88 and then one in 2000, another one in 2006.
Yeah. And
so actually the one that you're referring to is the coup of 87 that resulted in the overthrow of the elected government of Fijian Prime Minister Timochi Bavadra.
There you go. Good research. So yes. So about that military takeover, it was very scary because the Fijians are really cool, laid back people. They drink their kava and they say bula and they ride their bikes and they're super chill.
And you're showing up just as they declare a new republic.
Right. And this republic is a military republic.
Oh,
so
boy.
what does that mean? That means that at Saturday at sundown is a curfew. It's locked down. You're not allowed to leave your house until Sunday when the sun comes up. Problem is Sunday, you're not allowed. There's no businesses open. There's no taxis. There's nothing, right?
Right.
And Saturday when the sun goes down is when Teresa Rodriguez just gets started.
That's when she's just getting loose. She's been on the beach all day eating her noodles and beer.
Yep.
It's time to party.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Not in this case.
No, what ends up happening is I had to figure out how to get to the airport for my Sunday departure because there was I wasn't going to be able to get a car. A taxi that morning. And FYI, the cockroaches in Fiji fly. Like they fly, they're the size of my fist. And so here we are. There's the group of us that are flying out the next day, are all in the airport with our bags. No place to sleep. We got to stay the night at the airport, and there's cockroaches the size of bats flying in the airport. It was just awful. So,
yeah, that's terrible.
So my point being is research a destination before you go because it could be the most beautiful, pristine, amazing destination in the world. But if you've got a military coup taking place, not so much. So I ended up having a military guy spit on my face because I wouldn't dance with him. And there's nothing you can do. Nothing. Right. There was absolutely nothing I could do except wipe his stinky spit off my face.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that women, especially American women, have a tendency of assuming that because we're safe here in the United States, that we can just get on a plane and show up somewhere and go, ta-da, here I am. And that's not the truth. You need to do research. You need to go on your CIA websites. Even Thailand. I mean, last year they had a few uprisings. You just don't want to be around a place when the military is pissed off,
So how does a single mom that saves up money and has always wanted to go to fill in the blank country, right, how does she judge that though? I mean, if she's got no reference, the world can be a scary place if you've been in Iowa your whole life and here's your first time to branch out. How do they assess what's dangerous and what's exotic?
Well, I always say if you're a single mom in Ohio, start small. Like, you don't need to do the eat, pray, love adventure,
Right. Maybe go to Niagara Falls.
Yeah, go somewhere close or go somewhere easier or go someplace that's safe. Like, for example, I am a huge fan of Club Med for moms. The reason why is they have daycare.
Ah, yeah, right.
And it's all inclusive. So what that means is it doesn't matter if I drink one margarita or if I drink 5 margaritas because it's all inclusive in my price. By the way, I don't drink margaritas. I'm just using this as an example.
They keep pouring them.
And they keep pouring them, but your children are, cared for. So I'm putting the disclaimer that I am not promoting large use of alcohol while at Club Med. But my point being is that everything's included. Your meals are included. Your drinks are included. A lot of the activities are included. So you don't get this huge, this whole huge bill at the end of your stay, especially if you're going to take your kids. And that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
But if you're a single mom going to someplace on your own, think about what you want to experience. Think what your comfort level is, realistically what your comfort is, and what you want to have going on daily. Like, single mom now, would I go to Club Med by myself? No. I don't want to go to Club Med by myself. I don't want to do the trampoline. I don't want to sing, do the dances at the poolside. But for a mom who hasn't been able to get out of the house for 6 years because she's been raising her kids on her own, that might be the perfect time for her to get a little cray-cray.
It's sort of like the solo travel training wheels.
Exactly.
Walk before you run.
Walk before you run. And, there's a lot of great, you pointed out a great thing about, purpose. Like, when you travel for work, you go for a purpose. And what I find is that women, if they have a purpose, it gives them a lot more freedom to really enjoy a destination. So, for example, I want to learn how to cook. So I can fly to Napa and go to Ramekins and take cooking classes during the day. I want to learn how to surf. I can go down to Los Olas in Costa Rica and learn how to surf. I want to learn how to paint. I can take a painting class in Hawaii. So if you have a purpose, a lot of women find that a lot easier to spend the money and go. It's like, oh, I'm going to come back and I'm going to have a new skill.
Well, it also gives you the opportunity to kind of spread your wings and have something to rest on. Like, I will go, like you, anywhere and go see what's there and not feel like I need to, have that purpose necessarily, because a purpose will find me. Right. But like you said, when there's a new mom who it's as much about getting to know yourself and how you travel, so right, that when you get out there, you're not bombarded with information and you don't know how to kind of behave within yourself.
Right.
So yeah, in that environment, it's great that you kind of set the table for somebody to say, hey, just first go travel.
Right.
And don't make it be a life-altering, mission to do something. Just go get used to yourself and figure yourself out alone. I mean, we have several friends that we know who have gone out into the world and gotten to know themselves, and it makes them tremendously more interesting.
Oh my gosh, I tell single women that all the time. I'm like, they strive for the white picket fence, right? It's like, I just, picture our track team and, here we go, bang, we're off and running. And what are the women running towards? They're running towards the white picket fence. And I'm like, stop, take your running cleats off and go play in the sand, go play in the grass, because, at the end of the day, you're going to be a lot more interesting. And men are going to find you way more attractive when you can say, oh yeah, last week I was in Paris drinking champagne, or, next month I'm going to be going to Thailand, or, I went down to Buenos Aires and took some tango lessons. I mean, that stuff is intriguing and way more exciting than just running towards that white picket fence.
It's also, in addition to being more intriguing, it gives that white picket fence, if you do decide that you want to achieve that and you do achieve it, it gives it some context.
Right.
Because you want your kids to be, and I'm kind of speaking for you because I know how you are too, but you want your kids to experience and enjoy all these things in life. And that white picket fence is not a be all end all. It's just a foundation. So they have a safe place to jump off from.
Right.
Yeah. And inside that white picket fence, you can have a rain stick and a didgeridoo and all these things you've picked up from along the way that enrich your kids, their life, their experience within that white picket fence.
Yeah,
What's this, Dad? Oh, that's from Thailand. Give me that back. Don't ever touch that again.
Stay out of that drawer.
That's funny.
So do you go out and speak about the book, about the concept to groups of women, or do you rely on the books, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I do a lot of speaking, which, for me, I feel very lucky that I have been able to create a life where I'm able to empower other women through using travel, and as well as, I am a single mom and I am raising my baby on my own. And I've been able to reinvent and recreate myself enough times where I've been able to create a life where I can still travel and still be a great mommy and still inspire women. So yeah, one of the women who read my book sent me an email, and in my first book, Fly Solo, the 50 Best Places on Earth for a Girl to Travel Alone, I write about how it's more about your attitude than anything, and to always wear a scarf when you're in Paris. Well, she went through chemo. She had breast cancer. She sent me an email saying, I've made it through chemo. I have no hair, but until I read your book, I wasn't going to go to Paris because I was really self-conscious. But what I'm doing is I'm putting a scarf on my head and I'm going to Paris. And 2 years later, I got an email from her again, and the subject line was, hair's back, going to Paris, and wearing a scarf. And I just was like, yeah. She's like, I went to Paris that first time that I said that I was going to after my chemo treatments. I came back and, I was so inspired by going the first time by myself. I'm going again, but this time I've got hair.
Wow.
And that's a beautiful thing, like to be able to inspire someone who was afraid to take that first step, and you gave her that first step, right. And then she took care of it from there, because obviously she's a courageous lady. But sometimes you need that coach, that push.
Right. And I think that, I look at, before I did my TED Talk, one of the things that I really wanted to focus on, was the amount of passports that were issued per state. And if there was a direct correlation between passport issuances and racism. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Wow.
Should we talk about what we suspect?
Okay. It was so bad I couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
I did not want to sound, I looked at the numbers and I was like, wow, the lowest passport issuances states.
Wait. Let's guess.
Oh my goodness.
What's the lowest passport? West by God, Virginia. Wait.
Yep. No, not West Virginia.
Arkansas.
Yep.
Arkansas was it?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Well, there you go.
And the correlation between
passport issuances.
Right.
So how many passports were issued last year per state?
Not many in Arkansas.
No.
Is that weighted by
racism.
population, or is that just a straight number?
It was weighted by population, so it was
Wow.
basically a ratio of the percentage of people that live in the state and the amount of passports. Of course, you know,
So
New York.
the assumption is that here's a state with a sample size of 100 people, let's say,
Right.
and among those 100 people in California or in New York, let's say you have,
14 people got.
how many?
So say, for example, if our sample size is 100,
Right.
In California, 14 got passports. In New York, 12 got passports. And in Arkansas, 2 got passports.
That must mean that Arkansas is perfect.
Yeah, nobody wants to leave because it's perfect there.
It's
Why would you leave?
It's landlocked. It's very
Right.
close to Texas.
Yeah.
right?
It's
By the
self-sustaining.
Gulf, right?
So 2 people got passports. Now the presumption is that let's say 14 people from California are going to travel abroad. 2 people from Arkansas are going to travel abroad. That means that a year later, 14 people have traveled abroad, have experienced other cultures, have gotten to know people from elsewhere and other lifestyles to get to know the similarities and what we all are after. Whereas the converse is 98 people from Arkansas don't know anybody from anywhere else.
You got it.
And so therefore fear the unknown and develop a prejudice.
Bingo.
If you like the show,
And you know you do, support the show.
there are 3 ways you can support us.
Number 1, go to iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And leave a 5-star rating and review.
It helps with the show metrics and helps us get better placement. Number 2,
Visit our website.
www.breakitdownshow.com.
We've got an Amazon and an eBay link.
Same Amazon, same eBay, you know and love, but they give us a little kickback when you get to their site from ours. And number 3, leave comments about the shows that you like. We want to know what you think, how you feel.
Tell us how to make the show better. We greatly appreciate it.
Now back to the show.
Hey, Teresa, you talk about using culture as a way to figure out where you need to go. How do you define culture in that sense? Because that's such a big word and it can mean 100 things to 100 different people.
Well, for me, it equates learning. So, for example, you can go to Mexico to a very, which is filled with culture. I mean, the history of Mexico is profound. The French and the Spaniards and the Germans and the Dutch, they've all settled in Mexico. But most people don't go to Mexico to learn about the culture. They go to Mexico to drink.
Eat cheap lobster.
Exactly. So you have the opportunity to learn about Mexico, and you have the opportunity not to learn about Mexico. End up with a tattoo and
And a wife.
and a wife, right?
This is my wife, Juanita. We just met.
So
Not even saying any of those things aren't fun.
No, we love that. I love coming with the vacation life. Who are you again?
right?
Man.
And
So-
what is this thing on my behind?
I think it's a dolphin, or is it a marlin? Or is
Marlin.
is it a mermaid?
Oh, that's right. We were at the Giggling Marlin last night in Cabo. God, I forgot we got those tattoos.
See, but that's part, I mean, somebody could, like Pete said, culture means 100 things to 100 different people. And the obvious explanation for culture is to go find out where that country's people, were influenced and what came of all those influences and what the melting pot looks like. But the shallower definition of culture is what's there now. And what's there now is a party.
Right.
And
That's not culture.
to some people, that's what they want to seek out.
Right. And that's perfect. Like, that's the thing is, like, go into this with no judgment. Go into what you want to experience, but don't judge yourself on it, right? There are times that I want to get on a plane and forget my name by 4:00 in the afternoon. There's a great direct flight from SFO to Cancun on Virgin America. And by 4:00, you could have a great buzz. Actually, you could probably start getting the buzz on the plane.
In flight.
In the airport.
Yeah,
Right.
I used to love the days when you could bring a pint on the plane with you and just get started. 7 and 7, please.
Yeah.
Over and over
Well,
again.
all you have to do now is take your, the 113 containers, Ziploc, and just fill them with
Like a bag of booze.
small Sky vodkas, and you're good to go.
Hey, I love a buzz on an airplane, by the way. I think that is great. And
altitude and not the lack of oxygen. So
yeah, and I like to stay just steadily buzzed in the right setting. You're right, though. I like how you're defining culture. You know, the Mexican vacation on the beach, out dancing all night. You're not really worried about. Maybe you go to Chichen Itza, but maybe you don't.
Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Exactly.
Hey, what's your favorite place in Paris?
Oh, I love the 6th arrondissement. That's a great little neighborhood. It's on the left bank. And it's, what I love about it is you can rent an apartment there and not go through the whole hotel experience, which, you know, of course, if you're staying at like the Georges Cinq or, you know, one of the super expensive hotels, that's awesome.
You want the hotel experience.
You want it, but if you do a cheap hotel in Paris, it's really the worst experience. It's like worse than having a cheap hotel in Tijuana.
It's so bad.
It's just awful. So, you can rent, apartments, and it's a walking neighborhood. It's mostly locals, so that have a lot of culture, and, you know, they take their dogs everywhere, and great shopping, great boutiques, great restaurants, and you can actually just hang out there. Like I stayed there for 3 weeks and just, you know.
What's it cost for that apartment over there on Rive Gauche?
Yeah, the Rive Gauche. Well, it depends on the time of year. You can get great weekly rental rates, and there's a ton of different websites. You know, the most popular right now is like Airbnb.
Right.
But if you just put rent apartment 6 arrondissement, you'll be super happy with all of the different options that you have.
I love Paris. I've been arrested in Paris, by the way, and I still love Paris.
That's the part of the Parisian culture that Pete enjoys.
Oh, yes. It was getting into a fight in a crepe establishment, a creperie.
Parisian drunk tank culture.
Mischief in the creperie. Yeah, I love l'Orangerie. I love the Musée d'Orsay. There's so many great things. Yeah, and you're right. You don't need a car in Paris.
Yeah, and I think the d'Orsay is so much better than the Louvre, you know, for a period, like to be able to see art and almost touch it.
Yeah, well, the Louvre, as you know, is gigantic. No, you can't even explain how big it is because there's nothing comparable to it that I've ever seen. It's gigantic and it's chock full of stuff. Right. The Musée d'Orsay, you can actually take little bites of and consume, and heck, you could do it in a day, you could do it in 2 days and enjoy the whole thing and discover all those cultural things like Degas and all that. It's fantastic. Paris is top notch.
It is.
I had an automatic weapon pointed at me in Paris. But I guess I go there to see different things than you do, Teresa.
Oh gosh, I'm not even going to ask. Hopefully it was at the airport.
Also, I may or may not have been arrested in Thailand, but I don't discuss that anymore.
Well, he did get a tattoo on his face.
Statute of limitations has run out.
I could tell a funny story about my last time I went to Paris on the train. Should I tell? We can always edit it out. So pardon me for being a little bit lewd, Teresa. So we were on the train, my girlfriend and I at the time, and we were having some couple type friend time. It was a very friendly time. And the conductor came and tore the door open. It was locked. He scratched the hell out of the door as he pulled it through the lock. Uh-oh. And he got a surprise.
Uh-oh. All right.
That guy could barely look at us the rest of the train ride. And we kept seeing that guy, like, it must have been like his, you know, he was done, his weekend started, because we must have seen him 3 different times later on in Paris. He'd be like, oh, there they are. And the shame. It was awesome.
I'm surprised he didn't give you a high five and say, oui, oui.
I know, he should have. It was awesome. But yeah.
I think he might have been thrown off that you invited him in.
We didn't invite him in. He came tearing in.
That's the story Pete tells now.
Is the story. Come on in. High five. So, okay, you have 2 books. I know we're trying to promote the Body, Mind, and Solo 7 Keys to Conquering the World Alone. But how do the books differentiate? How do you recommend them for the solo traveler? Is there an order they should get them in, or to give us a little background on those 2 books?
Yeah, so Body, Mind, and Solo. So the last book was always what I wanted as my opus, you know. It was the book I always wanted to write. But Penguin bought the first book. So they bought the idea of a book with 50 destinations for women to travel by themselves. So that was the commercial endeavor. That book now is in 4 languages, a steady seller. And that's really for people who've traveled and want ideas of places to go. Where Body, Mind, and Solo is really, for that person who's got their training wheels on and it needs to be convinced that they're going to go somewhere, or they need to go somewhere, and they need to take a journey. And it's really inspirational with a lot of stories about women in it. That book took me around 6 years to write, and I had to condense it down year after year after year. But I always get inspired by some of the women's stories that they share about solo travel. There's one woman who I went to school with at Stanford, and she said something. She said when she travels by herself, she doesn't have to eat as fast as a teenager or walk as slow as a toddler. She can go at her own rate, her own speed. And I just found that. And of course, that was before I had kids. And now I get it. Like, I understand that line. And that's the body part of the book, is really figuring out what your body wants to experience.
Teresa is an amazing lady. She lived in Australia for a while. She said, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm gone. I'm going to Australia. She dropped
right after high school. Actually.
Yeah, right after she graduated high school early. Peace out, Cub Scout. I'm leaving. And then ends up down in Australia, a year later?
Yeah.
She just dropped on us that she went to Stanford. She's done a TED Talk. She's personally met Richard Branson. What have you not? What's left for you to do? Is your bucket list?
I saw
done?
a picture of Richard Branson holding her book.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
What is left?
I don't care about all that stuff. You know what? I just find you to be wildly interesting.
Thank you.
And that's the thing. You can stack up all those accolades and they're all impressive and wonderful, but really when somebody meets you, those aren't the things that matter. And everybody says that about, really wildly interesting people like you. If you ever meet Stevie Wonder, you're going to go like, yeah, he's won 26 Grammys. But that's not what makes him interesting. What makes him interesting is the path that he's chosen and the path that he's forged. And that's what makes you interesting. I mean, you have done stuff and you've written about it and you've reported back so that women who aren't naturally empowered to go do stuff all the time, even in our, dare I say, enlightened culture, just aren't always empowered to go explore and figure themselves out. And it's not that you've gone out and done all these things and said, here, go do all these things. It's that you're telling women, hey, go do your thing.
Right. Right. Do your thing, whatever that your thing is, but do it because you need your own thing, I think as women, especially after becoming a mom, I didn't realize how much you lose of yourself. And I've had quite a few roles. I've been a wife, I've been an employer, I've been an employee, I'm still a business owner.
You've been a model and a TV star.
I've been
drop
a model,
that on our listeners.
Yeah, I have. And I still produce fashion shows just because I love beautiful things.
That's why you love John and I.
Yeah, I do, because you guys are beautiful, man.
Yeah.
John and me.
So yeah.
I love subject pronoun agreement.
John and me. Me and John.
John and I.
You're lucky I included you in that comment.
That's true. Yes, that's true. So, what's next? What's next for Teresa?
Well, I'm not going in Virgin Galactic.
Okay.
Because that ends up in
Well,
the desert. It should be called Virgin Desert. Desert Adventure.
I'm starting another website, of course, because I have nothing better to do. And I really want to focus on empowering single moms. So I've started Jet Set Mama. And what I want to do there is really give women who are single moms, who are stuck, opportunities to go on like mini vacations, mini explorations. And it doesn't need to be to another country. It could be just to a day spa that's near, that's giving, them a discount because
Amen.
It's mom. So that's one thing I want to do. And the other thing I want to do is all those girls in Arkansas, I like to get them passports. I would love to find like Dove or a huge sponsor that is willing to give me a lot of money so we can help girls fill out all of that paperwork because it's a little overwhelming. It's a little intimidating. And register for passports and get those girls passports. They don't need to be going on a trip anywhere, but to have that passport is such a powerful piece of identification.
Yes.
It's such a powerful document.
It's one of the biggest hurdles in the foreign travel world. If you've already got the passport, all you need now is tickets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, that's laudable. I mean, to do something like that for the folks in Arkansas, who we're going to give a shout out to Spencer, one of our Arkansas listeners. And, you know, yeah, let's get them traveling. Let's get passports in their hands.
Also to the town of Fort Smith, because all 7 of those motherfuckers are listening. It's true though. I mean, I've had a passport a good deal of my life, and I just had to renew my passport. I actually haven't finished renewing it. I got to go back to the post office. It's a daunting process, even if you've done it before.
Right.
Yeah. So to do that for women in Arkansas, part of that is you're just opening the cell door.
Right.
And whether they choose to venture out or not, you know, you can sit on your bunk and look at the open cell door and say, well, the cell door's open. If I feel like walking out, I can walk out.
Right.
I would venture that some of those ladies too, that once that passport is sitting there, kind of like that pile of dirty laundry that just speaks to you nonstop, even when you're not looking at it, it's there in the back of your mind, just poking you. I bet that passport will do the same thing for some of those women, and they're like, I gotta use this thing. I gotta use it. It won't leave me alone. It's the telltale heart, but for going to Bolivia.
It is the telltale heart. And you know what? They're going to sit there and that thing's just going to be beating at them, and it's going to go dum, 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 dum.
Bolivia.
Leave that backward husband of yours.
We need to go to Peru.
Go travel, go see something. And then she's either going to come back and say, listen, dude, you're going to have to get infinitely more interesting.
Right.
And go with me somewhere, or this isn't going to work out because I've seen something and I've been enlightened.
Right. I don't know. Do you guys remember Donahue?
Phil?
Yeah, Phil Donahue.
Sure.
So I remember we were in high school and it was summer break and Phil Donahue was on, and I was, sitting in my house in Benicia watching Phil Donahue. And he had on the show, and I have for the life of me tried to find this segment of this neo-Nazi kid who came on and just was spouting hate, and he was from Arkansas, I hate to say it, but he was like, I hate the N-words, I hate the B-nerds, I hate, and Phil was like, have you ever met any of them? And he's like, no, I don't need to. My daddy says they suck. And everybody in my trailer park says they're awful. And I just remember watching that and having an out of body experience of taking this sad, sad soul. Cause the kid was like 14 years old. I mean, he couldn't even legally drink yet.
Hadn't seen anything.
Hadn't seen the world, and he already had so much hatred in him. And I just pictured walking with him through Auschwitz and showing him, you want to see hate? You want to see what happens when people hate as much as you do? This is what happens. And thinking to myself, I hope one day that I can give open doors. And mind you, I hadn't been anywhere. I don't think I had even been to Mexico yet. But I had traveled through books, and I had traveled through almanacs and the Encyclopedia Britannica at the library. And I just envisioned myself taking these people, these poor lost souls, taking them somewhere new and saying, no, look, there's no reason for hate, man. We're all in this together.
Yeah. So
that was the beginning of where I had this little seed planted in me, was Phil Donahue and some kid who was ranting hate, during summer vacation.
Teresa, when you look at traveling, actually, all three of us have traveled quite a bit. You have the places that you want to get to, and you always discover more, and you can never get to all of them. But you also have the places that you love. What do you think you prefer? Going back to Paris to go experience the same things again that you love, maybe explore a little bit there, or would you rather go off to, I don't know, Burgundy and go see a new part of France that you haven't been to? Where does your meter set with that?
Well, it depends. If I want to relax, then I go someplace like Playa del Carmen, where I know everybody and I know the beach and I know where I want to stay. And, I've kind of got my footprint. But if I'm really wanting to experience something new, I just get, I'll find a place and go. So, for example, this summer I went to Buenos Aires. I've never been. It's always been a bucket list item. I, stayed in a great hotel in a safe neighborhood and didn't make any plans. I actually brought my own book because I actually wrote about Buenos Aires. I hired somebody in Buenos Aires to help me with all the places to go for single women. And so I got down there and I just experienced Buenos Aires truly new and fresh. And now, Eckhart Tolle, his book, The Power of Now, talks about how we get stuck in the past and in the future. We're worrying about, we regret the mistakes of the past and we're worrying about the decisions we have to make in the future. And very rarely do we live in that delicious space of the present. So when I go to a place like Buenos Aires that I've never been before, I am no place but the present, walking through the cemetery and seeing Eva Perón's grave for the first time. I am there. I am so grounded in the earth and the smells and the feelings that there's no other place. And I think that's the power of traveling to new places. Whereas when I get to Cancun, I take the bus, I know where I'm going, I know where I'm seeing, I got all, But I think that we can always find that newness in anywhere that we go. It's just the attitude of, we want to take. So a long answer to a short question, I like to go to new places if I have the energy to do the research and to plan. But if I don't, then I'll just go to one of my true blues.
When you went to Buenos Aires, you would put pictures up and so, we all get to kind of travel with you. And it's one of the things I love about Facebook is keeping up with friends. Even though you and I don't talk every month or every week even, we can interact via Facebook. So I'm watching you do that and I'm watching you enjoy the soccer team. You're, at some kind of a pub or something and you got the jersey on and you're in the moment. You are a Buenos Aires fan and you're into it because those people are into it. And it takes me back to times where I've done similar things. Like I've been in the Arab Peninsula during the Arabian Cup or, the Euro Cup when they're all playing and you've got maniacs from Holland just going crazy for their team. The entire airport is orange. It's so much fun to live in that present moment, but you can't do that you can't do that right at your house. You have to get out of your house and you have to go experience those things.
Yeah, because the laundry needs to be done. You need to clean the refrigerator out, the kids screaming, whatever. Yeah.
Hey, when all these single moms and these even the men that want to go out and travel, they're all going to throw at you the money, argument and say, I don't have money for that. What's it cost for someone to grab some tickets and go to anywhere? And I understand you can do a 3-day little short trip and go somewhere within 100 miles of your house and be a world away. But what does it cost to use that passport and go to Playa del Carmen or anywhere?
It depends. I do not use Expedia, Kayak, any of those. I don't use those sites. The third-party sites are so unreliable. It's hard to get your money back if you book the wrong ticket or if something changes. So I sign up directly with the airlines to get specials, so United and Virgin and American Airlines, because they have specials all the time. And when you book directly with the airlines, you're getting a solid price. And they have deals where they'll hook up with, Iberostar, for example. And so you can spend, 5 days, fly American Airlines to Cancun and stay at a hotel for $800 for, whatever. And that includes the flight. Another good one is Club Med. Club Med has a lot of great deals going on all the time. So that's where I like to send people. One of my flight attendant friends loves Travel Zoo. They've got, great deals on packages. So if you want to do a package, you can do it through those. Say you can't do that. Say you only have Monday to Thursday off. You got to be realistic, man. How far in advance are you going to be booking this? How much money are you willing to spend? What kind of experience of where you want to stay? It's almost like that Da Vinci Code. You remember that lock, that puzzle that they had that had all of these different intricate things that spun around and spun around? That's kind of what solo travel is. Because you can say, yeah, I want to experience a lot of culture. I want to go someplace where the weather's nice. But I can't take more than a week off. And I can't spend more than $1,000, for example. Well, each of those is going to limit where your destination is going to be. But also think outside the box. Maybe you want sun. Instead of flying to Cancun, maybe you can go down to San Diego, or perhaps you can fly over to Miami. So think about the options of what you want to, what do you want to experience and what are the options that fit into that realm. Money's always going to be the number one. So like for me, I need to travel a lot. So I'm not booking flights all the time. I'm driving up to Napa. I'm going over to Mendocino. Yesterday I was in Bodega Bay. So I do a lot of little trips that don't cost a fortune, but get me out of my space.
Yeah, I want to turn that question a little sideways and say, okay, I am, let's say, and I know I sound just like this, but let's say I'm a single mom. And I just want to spread my wings a little bit. I just want to get away. I got my mom will take the kid for a little while if I arrange something, and I just want to get started and kind of want to get to know myself. What do you suggest?
So you're going by yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I've got, let's say, I don't know what the dollar amount is, but let's say I've saved up $500. What do I do with myself?
Well, and you're here in the Bay Area.
Sure.
Do you want warm or cold, or does the temperature matter?
I like this. I like warm.
Okay. So do you, if you've only got $500, then I would probably suggest that you would take a train, and you can take a train to San Diego, or if you got a car, I would drive to Santa Barbara and go check out all the wineries, and there's got great spas down there. There's a lot of great little hotels that don't cost a fortune. The San Luis Obispo area is awesome. Pismo Beach, Avalon, awesome.
All right. Now I'm going to take your answer apart, because I didn't ask that necessarily for myself or for single moms in the Bay Area, but for our listeners who happen to catch us from somewhere else, if I can summarize, and please jump in wherever I get it wrong or need a little help, but if I can summarize, the important thing is to figure out with my amount of money, how far can I get and how much time do I have?
Exactly.
And then the next thing is, what do I want to do? Or how much do I want to do?
Right.
And then,
how little?
Yeah, how much or how little do I want to do? And then when I've figured out sort of my radius, start to look at the activities and what I can afford, and start to look at modes of transportation and what I can afford, and maybe what sounds interesting. Like, if we assume everybody has a car, great, but maybe not everybody has a car. Do I take a bus? Do I take a train? Maybe explore all of those options. Maybe I live somewhere where there's a riverboat, or whatever the case may be. There are, because I'll tell you, I do live in the Bay Area, and hearing your suggestions, taking a train, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
you can take the train all the way to Tahoe.
Yeah.
And you can take the train all the way down to San Diego.
And I hear the train to Tahoe is beautiful.
It is.
And we have a friend who just went to LA, and he said he always takes the train when he goes down there because he loves to take the train down there.
Yep. You can take the train all the way to San Diego, get off at the gas lamp area, find a cute little boutique. Well, book the hotel beforehand, and you don't need a car. You don't need any transport.
The other thing that you mentioned were the alternative lodging arrangements to getting a hotel, and there are alternative lodging arrangements practically everywhere. So
everywhere.
We'll encourage everybody to, just really do the exploring. And here's the thing that I will add is that you're going to have a great time when you go out there and you travel, but there's a lot of great time to be had in just the anticipation of the travel. Booking the travel and figuring out those alternative transportation methods and just exploring what you're going to do before you even do it. There's a whole lot of fun to be had doing that.
Right. Oh, I agree.
So if you're interested in all the things we've talked about, Teresa's books are available on Amazon. And so what we'll do is we'll put a link next to Teresa's podcast, and you can grab Body, Mind, and Solo, 7 Keys to Conquering the World Alone. Or you can grab one of her other books. And she'll be your guide in a book and get you out of the house and get you to some wonderful places.
And if you don't already get it, she's a great guide. So, we had you on because we knew you'd be interesting on the podcast, but really it's our recommendation. Our show is our recommendation of cool people doing interesting things, and your interesting thing happens to benefit a whole lot of, potentially benefit a whole lot of other people.
Yeah, because I think that if you change one person's perspective about the world, then they can influence and change the perspective of the people that they are in contact with. So I think it's pretty powerful. It's, changing the world one trip at a time.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful thing to be able to take, moms, especially like a newly single, mom who's overwhelmed, and you say, hey, take some time out for you. Because moms will get very focused on their kids, and they almost live for their kids, which is absolutely great. But take some time for you, enrich your life so you can enrich your kids. And what you're saying is get a passport, go to Avalon, go to Mesa, Arizona, go to Sedona, Arizona, just go somewhere, open your heart, open your mind, live in the present, and then, give that to your kids.
Right, because, you're going to be a better mom. You're going to be a better mommy when you've got stories to tell about the stars that you saw falling from the sky and the little gifts that you can bring back versus you yelling and screaming and being angry and frustrated and at home all the time. Yes, it is a commitment to travel by yourself. It is, you're going to, start a fund, a penny fund if you have to do it.
You're talking $500 and you can do a trip. That's $10 a week.
Yeah, for
That's
you.
It.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can add, and $500, you can actually do, if you live in Northern California, you can go up to the wine country pretty easily without a car even because, you can take the ferry, the Vallejo ferry, and then they have buses from the ferry up to Napa. So there's a lot of different options, but you have to research them and you have to be willing to explore and you have to get yourself out of the mindset that I need X amount of money. I need to travel by car. I need blah, 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 blah. There's a big difference between need and want. And I like to focus on the want side of things, not the need side of things.
And someone's got to help balance that out. And you are the goddess of want. And we thank you for that.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm a big wanter. And I'm not afraid to admit it. There's a lot of things I want. Do I need them? No, but I would really like them.
Well, and I want to thank you on behalf of John and I. Or me and John, or John and me, for coming on the show. And just, again, thank you for being so wonderful with what you do. You're making the world a better place one trip at a time, like you said. And again, encourage our listeners to check out Teresa on Amazon. Use our link to go there. Check out Jet Set Mama, her newest venture.
Also, I'm just going to throw in, if you happen to be a Jet Set Mama, we like you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We like you, Jet Set Mamas, all of you.
We want to hear your story. We want to hear Jet Set story. And
can we follow you on Twitter?
Yes, it's Fly Solo.
Oh, at Fly Solo.
And I have Jet Set Mama too, but I haven't done anything with that one yet.
Okay.
It's a brand new venture. Okay. All right.
Cool. So follow Teresa on Twitter at Fly Solo.
Get out of the house. Go travel. Teresa says so.
I said so.
Yeah. Yo, follow us on Twitter as well. Break It Down Show. Go to our website. Click on the Amazon link.
Yeah, heck yeah. And then hopefully we can build up a travel fund ourselves and we'll go to cool places and we'll do broadcasts. We actually have done one from San Diego. It's funny that you mentioned that. We love going to San Diego. And we did one down at a golf course, and man, it's great to get out of the house.
Yep.
Oh, it is.
You're always welcome to come on the show, Teresa. You're a friend of the show officially.
Oh, absolutely.
And so anytime you want to promote something or you've got an idea for somebody else that maybe wants to come on, let's talk about it. Let's get them on the air and let's throw some love at them and let them spread the word.
Yeah, thanks a zillion.
Yeah, thank you guys for what you're doing. I'm so proud. Woo!
Right on.